everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. This is Sue, and we are doing a mini series of energy reports as we move through July. Why? It is such a big month from an energy perspective that I really didn't want to give us a huge long webinar where we have so much information that we have to process that it's almost overwhelming. I think it's better that we have it in bite-sized pieces of information so that we can process it, we can digest it, it helps us to understand it, and it helps us then to apply it from a very practical perspective. Now, what are we talking about today? Some people are talking about it as the harmonic convergence. Some people are saying it's the alignment of the century. Some people are turning around and saying it's all about endings and beginnings, and this is the recalibration of mankind, and we are leveling up on a monumental scale. What are they actually talking about? So that's what we're going to be covering in this little video today. If you like what you are hearing, if you want to be notified with the next time we go online, please hit subscribe. Please hit the little bell so that you get a notification of when we release our next video. And at the end of this video, if you like what we're talking about, then please hit like and share it with other people so that they can see what it is that we're doing here. But let's dive straight in and let's just see what it is that is happening. And I want to share my screen with you and show you this little graphic because I think it will make an absolute huge amount of sense when you see it from a graphical representation. Now, the program that I use is this one. It is called theplanetstoday.com. I refer to it on a daily basis, and you can see what it is. It actually gives us a very graphical representation of where the planets are, in which house, in which sign, and what's going on. So it's a very snazzy little program to tune into every now and then. Remember, folks, this is Vedic astrology. This is not Western astrology. And one of these days, I promise I will do a video that says what the difference is and why it is that I choose to practice Vedic astrology. But for now, let's focus in on what is really going on. So there's a few things here. Number one, this is geocentric. So you will see that we have the planets with the Earth in the middle. Now, I'm not a flat earther, but this is a geocentric perspective with the Earth in the center so that we can see from our perspective of what's going on. Remember, the sun is in the center of the solar system. So let's clear that up straight away. Now, if you look at what is happening here, here's the interesting thing. You can see that all the planets here are arranged in almost a semicircle here. There is nothing on this side of the screen. Everything is on this side of the chart. And it is a really interesting space because from a geocentric perspective, what it says to us is the sun is on a solitary space until we get to the 18th of August. From now until we get to the 18th of August, it's almost as if the sun is doing its thing and everything else is in a holding pattern. Everything else is kind of in this holding pattern on this side of the chart. Now, remember, the sun is your identity. It's what you think about yourself. It's your self-concept. It's your ego. I don't mean that from a narcissistic perspective. I mean it from a space of what you think of yourself. Who am I? Your whole self-concept, your whole self-identity. And as we move through the next couple of weeks, we are going to be pushed into a space where we have to ask these questions. So who am I? What am I? What is it that I'm trying to do? What's important to me? Don't be surprised if we're in a space where the shadow of that self-concept comes hurtling up at moments where we feel uncertain, we feel lacking in confidence, we feel insecure, we feel a little bit wobbly with who we are, what we're doing, where we're going, and what it's all about. So this is an energy from now until we get to the 18th of August. It is a space where we are being invited to go very deeply into those questions, the who, the what, the how, the why, that self-discovery, that self-dialogue about who I am. So over the next couple of weeks, number one, be gentle with yourself. Number two, be curious with yourself. And number three, allow yourself to have a dialogue, a very sacred dialogue, if you like, of what it is that you have created in your life and what it is that you want to focus all of this power and energy of who you are. What do you want to focus in on as we move through the next couple of weeks? Because we are moving into a cycle as we move to September. Any decisions that we've made, any actions that we've decided on, any choices that we have decided on during this cycle are going to start moving into evidence. And so we don't want to be kept in a space where we are passive participants with life. We want to be able to be active participants, co-creators, if you like, of our life and our way forward. And the only way that we can do that is to do that self-discovery, to do that self-dialogue now. So this is a very interesting space, if you can remember, from now to the 18th of August. But what else is going on? Okay, now here's the very interesting thing about this cycle. I want you to see here, we have Mercury sitting in Gemini. We have Venus sitting in Taurus. We have Jupiter sitting in Sagittarius, and we have Saturn sitting in Capricorn. This is huge because why? Mercury owns Gemini. You've got to imagine that Mercury is the owner of the house. It's the owner of the sign. So Mercury owns the sign. It's sitting in its own sign. It's sitting in its own part of the sky. Venus is sitting in her part of the sky. She owns Taurus. Jupiter is sitting in Sagittarius. He owns Sagittarius. Saturn is sitting in Capricorn. He owns Capricorn. Now, this is an incredibly important, a very, very huge event, that we have 4 of the 5 major planets sitting in their own house, in their own sign. And this is why people are calling it an alignment. This is why they're calling it a conversion, because we have literally the house owner is sitting in his own house. Now, what this does is it causes an enormous exaggeration, if you like, of those qualities. So let's just look at it. Mercury is in retrograde in its own sign. Now, Mercury retrograde, we've spoken about that. Mercury retrograde is responsible for technology, for trade, for marketing, for communication, for how we connect with other people, for misunderstandings and misconnections. Over this last weekend, we've had Mercury combust. The image that you should have in your head is literally of taking all your computers or your cell phones or your computers or your laptops, your iPads and all of those, and putting it on the stove top. And then turning the stove on, and you get this dreadful smell of burning as the electric stove now starts to burn all the plastic and it starts to burn all your electronics. So you've got this really dreadful smell of burning. And then what does it do? It twists it out of all proportions so you can't recognize it. And then it melts and it's just a god-awful mess. That's what we've had over the last couple of days with Mercury retrograde. It is an exaggeration of all the power and all the shadow. Look at Venus. Venus owns Taurus. And Venus is this energy. It is this very goddess-like energy. It's this very sultry energy. It's this energy that governs our relationships with our partners, with our lovers, with our siblings, with our families. It is this energy that enjoys good food. She's just come out of retrograde and a house that she owns. And you've got to believe we have had miscommunications. We've had lots of fraught relationships happening because Taurus the energy is, it is exaggerated, it is multiplied, if you like. For those of you who did maths, it is to the power of, it's not a multiplication of, it's to the power of. So it is this absolute exponential energy. Then we've had Jupiter in Sagittarius. It was in Capricorn. Because it's in retrograde, it's kind of like moved back into Sagittarius. And in this position, the exaggeration is that it flows over the borders. It expands. It doesn't know the meaning of enough. It doesn't know the meaning of stop. It doesn't understand the meaning of it's enough now. And so there is this absolute exaggeration that is going on from that perspective. And then we've got Saturn in Capricorn, and Saturn is in its own house in Capricorn, which is hard work. We've just got a truck that's pulled up outside. I'm not going to re-record this video, so just bear with the truck that's standing outside. This is part of the parcel of having these planets doing their thing. You can see it, noise, exaggeration, and the truck is moving away so we can carry on. Saturn is in retrograde in Capricorn. Saturn is hardworking. Saturn is this energy that says, put your head down and just keep on pulling that plow. But Saturn in retrograde in Capricorn is imprisonment. It's isolation. It's pulling away. So we have got all of these energies. The fact that we have 4 of the 5 major planets doing their thing in their own house gives us an absolute exaggeration of what is going. The fact that we have got 3 of the major planets in retrograde right now. We have Mercury in retrograde, we have Saturn in retrograde, we have Jupiter in retrograde right now. This tells us that things are, they are fraught, they are high intensity, they are exaggerated on every level. Now, we can see here that we've got Mars. If you can see where my mouse is, we've got Mars sitting in the sign of Pisces. Mars is soon going to go into Aries, and then we're going to be in a very interesting space because, of course, Mars owns Aries. And so it is a very interesting energy that we have right now. So this is the predominant thing that we have, and Mercury goes direct on the 12th, so we can expect this energy that we have right now, this very exaggerated energy, sometimes harsh, sometimes fraught, sometimes frustrated, sometimes not knowing where the borders and the boundaries are, sometimes indolent, sometimes lazy. We can expect this energy to keep with us until we get to Sunday. I think it's on Sunday, the 12th of July. And then what happens is Mercury starts to station direct, Mercury starts to move. So for those of you who've been in a space where you have felt that there have been huge delays on your business, huge delays on things getting going, you can expect things to start moving and unfolding from next week onwards. And then as we move through to the end of July, you can expect business to start stabilizing and getting going again. Mercury retrograde very often creates all sorts of delays on a business perspective. So good news is we're nearly out of that. So this is what we've got going on. It's a very, very interesting energy. We've got all the homeowners sitting in their own space. And so this means that there is an absolute exaggeration of this energy. Everything, the good and the bad. So just be in a space where you are very, very aware. How do you work with Jupiter is you receive, you open up to the blessings, but you put in the borders and boundaries, a very strong time for borders and boundaries on every level. How do you work with Saturn? is you put the strategy in place, you put the action plan in place, and you walk through the action plan. It is a time where we have to be very, very circumspect about what it is we do. How do we work with Mercury retrograde? It has us all over the place. It has us flitting around. It has us in a space where nothing is working and everything is fried, and there is this dreadful smell of burning electronics. This is going to be passing very, very soon. So be very, very circumspect in terms of back up everything. Make sure you double check everything. Make sure that you're in a space where you are protecting your privacy. The last thing that we have got going on in this space is, if you can see where my mouse is right now, if you can see on this trajectory, we have Rahu and Ketu. And the Rahu is sitting in this space dancing with the sun at the moment. Ketu is sitting down here dancing with this Jupiter and Saturn in retrograde. What it means is this is a period of miscommunication, silly buggers, manipulation and stress. So where Rahu sits, it is dancing with Mercury. We can expect miscommunication. We can expect silly buggers. We can expect manipulation even. We can expect downright manipulation and chaos from this side until the sun moves away from Rahu. And we can expect here this energy of Ketu dancing with Saturn, which is isolation, and dancing with Jupiter, which is exaggeration. So this is an energy that says, for the next couple of days, you be very aware of action and consequences. Be very aware of what we do and what the result is, because Rahu is the action and Ketu is the consequences. And so because that is also dancing into the mix as well, this is a very, very karmic period of be very circumspect of what the action is and what is the desired consequence that you want, and adapt the action accordingly. Definitely not a time for just acting and just, who cares, and let's just see where the chips fall. This is a time for being very, very consequential, that this is the action I'm taking and this is the result that is coming from it. So it's an incredibly interesting energy that we have got right now. So let me just unshare my screen. It's a very interesting energy that we've got right now. It is an energy that is asking us, be very, very circumspect, action and consequence. Be very circumspect with the borders and the boundaries that you need to have in place with yourself, with others, with money, with all aspects of your life. Be very aware that because we've got Saturn sitting in retrograde in Capricorn, the tendency is to isolate ourselves and work and work and work and work until we make our own prisons. We need to have the strategy, have the action plan, but every now and then, guys, get out of the prison of working all day. This is an energy with Rahu and Ketu, action and consequence. Be very aware that the consequences we have are a direct result of the actions that we do or do not take. And then with Mercury still fritzing up everything, still frying everything up, if we have this pyroclastic cloud that is looming over our heads, make sure that you protect absolutely everything, because it's fraught. And then to recap, from now until we get to the 18th of August, sit back, be in a space of self-curiosity, be in a space of self-questioning. Who am I? Where am I going? What is this about? What is my purpose? What is it that I want to do? And what do I need to do to get there? It's a time for sacred dialogue. It's a time for self-awareness and self-knowledge, and allowing who you are to emerge and lead the way. So there you have it, very short, very quick, and a very powerful time, an exceptionally powerful time, as each planet is in its own house. It's an incredibly powerful time. We can leverage this. We can leverage this to exceptionally powerful endings. So be in that mind frame as well, that says, what is the power of Mercury? Power of Mercury is really communication. It is creative. How can we leverage that? The power of Venus is sensuality. She's abundance. How can we leverage that? The power of Saturn, Saturn is to take us within, to really explore our spiritual self. How can we leverage that at the same time as it's keeping us working hard? The power of Jupiter is to awaken us to our Dharma and our purpose and the expansion of life. And how can I leverage that? So just hold those tippets to you. Just be aware of that as we go through the next couple of days. I will be back with you very soon with the next snippet of information that we've got. And thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe, hit like, share it. I will be back with you before the end of the weekend with our next installment. Bye for now.